I'm Nathan Berry. I own Valhalla Contracting and Home Services.
My name is Otis Shetler. I'm the owner of Drywall Repair Pros, LLC.
So my name is Daniel Meza. I own a business called Phoenix Central Home Services.
My name is John Sherman. My name of my business is Affordable Handyman and Hauling.
My name is Mike Neal. I run a handyman business, The Humble Handyman.
Hi, I'm John Floyd.
My name is Joseph Vecchio. I'm 17 years old.
My name is Brittany. I own a business called The Humble Homemaker.
So my name is Dan Vecchio. I'm Joseph's dad.
My name is Luke Maines. I'm from Murray, Utah.
Yeah, Ray, my name is Greg Schwan.
Yeah, sure. My name is Ben Alexander, and I started a handyman company there about 6 years ago called Hank's Handyman Services.
My name's Kelly Rigby. Actually, we live in Oklahoma.
My name is, first of all, Josue Navarrete, right? I was born and raised in California.
My name is Britton, Crawford Contracting.
My name is Adrian Moeller, owner of HMI Pros.
My name is Robbie, owner of RobertOwensHandyman.com.
I'm Elijah Hudson. I'm the helper.
My name is Bob Belts, Belts Concrete and Home Solutions.
My name is Jerry, Suburban Specialties.
My name is Matthew Richards, full service handyman, Dayton, Ohio.
My name is Troy. I run the Denton Handyman.
Mr. Heath Rowe.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to give everybody some background. You're my drywall guy and my painter, basically. Yes. You're a lot of other things. You're also a handyman. You're a general all-around tradesman. But we've done a lot of business together with you as my drywall guy and my painter. Actually, real quick, can you tell me the story of how we met, your version of how we met? And then after that, I'm going to just go back and start diving into how you got into the trades in general.
That's actually a beautiful story. A tough time. I think it was a few years ago.
Probably 2 or 3.
2 or 3 years ago. It was before you turned into this, bulletproof handyman superstar. But I came off of a neck injury, had some drywall hit on my head and pulled some discs in my back, and I was just coming off of just being out of, just out of commission for 3 whole months. I put an ad in. I think it was on Craigslist or something, which you know how to navigate, more now, navigate through these things. And you said, hey, can you do this? Specifically, the one thing that I recall of all of our conversations was how thorough you were with having the conversations and the questions that you asked, and just what a friendly guy you were, even when you met you, but you were still matter of fact, and you were still business, kind. Never crossed the line like, hey, buddy. There was not that, not at first.
Yeah, I try to keep things pretty strictly business, especially initially.
And you brought me into this one place to come take a look at it. I remember it was from what I recall is floating the whole wall out and retexturing it and doing that, and you were doing the whole interior on this place, and upper higher end home, and the wall was a big wall, and it was right in the focus spot. It had to be perfect, you know what I mean? Because we can't have we can't have any imperfections sticking out because you got to get paid.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I got it, and just I've been so skilled and lucky to have been doing this for a long time on my drywall skills that when I came down to the Tucson area, I didn't have any competition, and I think I said that to you or something like that. And nobody could touch my work, and ripped right through this wall.
Oh yeah, you did. And your pricing was fine too.
Yeah.
Your attitude might have been a little overconfident, but your pricing was. Your work was spot on and your pricing was spot on.
Yeah.
So you backed up all the bragging.
Yeah, and I learned probably since knowing you I laid down a lot. I've learned just so many other techniques, especially, we always called like the handyman chiropractors. Remember that? And I said, well, I'm not a chiropractor. I'm not a handyman. I'm a multi-trade guy. Until I decided to become a handyman and try that and incorporate some of that in my business. And I found out that I have much more respect for the handyman that's busy and doing what they do after meeting you and going, wow, you know, what a change of events.
I remember when we met, you were talking shit about handyman quite a bit before you knew. You didn't know I was a handyman.
And boy, did I
You just
learn.
knew that I needed somebody to do some work, and you probably talked shit about handyman like 4 times that day.
Yep, sure did.
Before I gave you like either my business name or whatever it was, I finally said something, and you were like, "Oh, I didn't mean," and I was like,
No,
and everybody on the channel knows this too.
Yeah.
It's an earned reputation.
Yeah.
You said that for a reason, because 9 out of 10 handymen are what you were referring to. I happen to be the 1 out of 10 that's trying to do something different, and most of the audience is also that.
And so you guys know, and I watch a lot of these interviews, and I met Ray when he's starting all this stuff up, and he's the only one. We all knew a handyman as some older guy, you know, drove a beat up truck, and and he could change a toilet, and that kind of stuff. And then when you start to get into what interests me, when you start talking about property management, you're doing everything, your jobber, that was great. You go on here, all your details are there, and I just could not believe on how detailed you were and professional that. I'm like, it made me want to become one, I'm not going to lie, and I'm like, and I didn't do it because I thought it was going to be easy. I did it because I thought it was going to be hard. It was going to be challenging. And I'm going to have to do some different kinds of things and work with some different kinds of people. And as we went through our journey, you told me those things, You're like, don't worry about this, stay focused on this. And when I slipped, note to self, that's get back over here, realign yourself, and
don't blame somebody else for your mistakes. Figure out how you could have prevented, even if it's somebody else's fault.
No.
If it's their fault, you can't do shit about it.
Yeah.
If it's your fault, that's great.
Yeah.
Because you can change what you do.
Yeah.
And then mitigate for when other people do have their own things that they pull on you.
And make it right.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too about working with you. And I think anybody that's going on and checking out his page and his content, he is that guy. I got the privilege of knowing, and to the people that are out there too, hello. He didn't tell me he was doing this until not too long ago. Never said a word.
Yeah, you didn't know about YouTube for quite a while,
and I never really went on the YouTube, and I never did Chat GPT or any AI at all until I met this gentleman. And now I tell you what, Chat GPT AI has changed my life, and more. I use it all the time. And like you made an interesting comment, you're like, it's not AI that's going to take our jobs, it's the people that know the AI that want to do our jobs that are going to take our jobs. So get with the program, and you warned me about this stuff early. But when I started to, another thing too that I used to call Mr. Ray up and I'd say, Ray, okay, I've got a GFI issue here. And you would step by step walk me through everything quickly and efficiently.
Yeah, I remember a couple times when you were really diving into the handyman world.
Quite a few times I've talked to you about things and how to price out something or this and that. And you went, and then one day you said, well, I got a video on it.
Yeah, that's right.
I said, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah, I got a YouTube channel. I'm like, what? Yeah, it's called the Bulletproof Handyman. I'm putting out these classes, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And so I'm scratching my head. What the hell is he talking about? And then I go online, and there you were. And then you kept coming into my feeds. I'm showing my wife. I'm all this. I know this guy.
Yeah.
Going. It was the first time for me. It's kind of like when you meet your heroes. You can't believe he's right there. I'm like, I can't believe he's on my phone.
Yeah. Now we're just friends.
Yeah.
We don't even have that much work to do anymore because you're kind of up in Phoenix, which I know you'll come down.
Yeah.
But,
Yes.
I just don't have a whole lot of that anymore. But we're still just friends, anyways.
Yeah. I came down to Tucson about 15 years ago, and a friend of mine went up there, and he told me, he goes, well, in Tucson, you really don't have to advertise, it's word of mouth, you just got to do a good job.
You just have to not suck.
And so I come down here once a week, and I work here through the week. And I put my 2.5 weeks notice in down here 2.5 years ago, and I'm still coming down here because people are still giving me a call, and I still utilize you almost all the time. You're going to get a call from me every couple of months on something.
Yeah. Cool. Can you maybe, do you have a story about how you ended up in the trades? I don't know. I don't know the answer to this as much as we've talked.
No,
I don't know if you've been doing this since you were 10 or if there was a mentor who got you in or what. So I'd be happy to just hear the whole damn story.
Oh, it's an interesting story, actually. You know, in the Scottsdale area, and I had this hippie friend of mine that was a painter, you know, and I was a touring, traveling musician, and I had a lot of downtime, and I wanted to paint my house. I had no idea about how to paint, just like anybody else, you know, whatever. So I went to Sherwin-Williams and I got myself the Oops paint. Remember that? Mm-hmm. There's some purple color that was there, and my friend kind of showed me, gave me some professional tips on how to paint, and he you know, he knew design. He knew his house was really neat, and I just wanted to you know, get a step ahead of him, and so I painted my house this purple color, and I painted it all in semi-gloss. I didn't know machines, I didn't know my products, I didn't know anything like that, and this was sometime around '97.
Okay.
And
so I was 17.
You're probably about 17, yeah. I was 26 or 27. And I put this paint on the wall, and it was so vibrant purple, and the gloss was there that it made me sick. True story, and I tell this to a lot of people. I'm surprised I haven't told it to you. Mm-mm. But I went and I threw up. I mean, I threw up so hard because it's something about that paint. I couldn't, maybe the smell.
Chemicals and stuff?
I don't know what it was.
Or you just really don't know.
But what happened after that was profound. After that, I could see colors on the wall that weren't there. So I was like, so as I become the designer that, like, the kind of guy that I am now today, I could see with a color on a wall. So I could see your different colors matching different kinds of grays. You got brown grays, you got blue grays. I could see those colors on the wall in their
So you could visualize potential?
I could visualize it, whether I'm seeing it on there or not. I got the concept, you know, just like as if you were to put the colors on a computer on some program. And I was able to do that, but I was also able to, since then, is really articulate and communicate myself and learn my products. That's one thing that I learned from the first painter guy. Was he was kind of a bit of a handyman too, did some small stuff, but he was really sloppy. You know, I didn't want to be that guy. You know, and then within 4 years, I had 14 guys working for me. I started my own painting company, but there was things that I was missing. Like, I always wanted to learn how to do drywall. Yeah. You know, so I went out and bought myself some stilts and got on my pool table at home and learned how to walk on them, you know, by myself before I took them on a job site. And I took them on a job site and I put them on, and all the Mexicans were looking at me like, "What are you doing, man? You know how to use those things?" And so it took me a little bit longer than most to learn my trade, because there was really nobody there to show me, and I did it all on my own. You know, the first flyers that I put out was I lived in Warner Ranch, which is in Tempe, Arizona, and I had an old van, and I stenciled it Warner Home Services, trying to be a handyman, failing miserably. You know, I put out a flyer, a full-page flyer, and put it on people's doors, and it said monsoon special, but I spelled monsoon moonsoon. So the people that called me were telling me that I had a typo in there. Yeah. I built the first thing I did was built a flower bed. I was pretty handy. I'm a carpenter, and then I actually became a carpenter. And this is before the YouTube was big, so I'd literally go to the library and get, you know, handyman books and get some old wood and start learning how to put things together.
I can remember days and days in the library when I was younger, paying 5 cents per page on the copy machine to copy off the important pages with charts of things. And
5
stuff.
cents, but yes, that's kind of how it was, and I was determined, you know, and I was actually doing things that was out of my scope, you know, and but it evolved, and I started to learn my trade really, really, really good, and I got to work with some of the best people, and I actually learned Spanish. I knew Spanish a little bit when I was a kid, but I mean, the guys that I worked with, Mexican guys, they're in the trades, you know. I wanted to know more about them and their families, so, you know, I got books before they had, you know,
when you just get even just the dictionary, the one that's just word for word, so you can just string words together horribly, but still get your point across.
Oh yeah, I'm still a little broken, but I can get by fairly well. But yeah, I thought I was going to be a painter, and then up until when the crash hit in 2008-9, we moved to Florida because it just hit here. I had no idea how bad it hit in Florida, but I went down there, and there to get your contracting license, you have to go before a judge. You have to have people that you've worked for before write something about you. So it was a big major deal to get my license, and that was called Oceanside Painting and Drywall. But it wasn't until about 10 years ago that I decided that I wanted to be more of a carpenter, and the framing of the drywall, doing all that for so long, you know, putting in electrical boxes, and I started doing more and more and more of the meat and potatoes of it. And then I said, well, I'll just be a handyman because that's easy, right? Wrong, man. Yeah. I remember with you, you kind of worked me through it. You're like, okay, you need to get a tool. One of the most proud moments that I had was when I put that screen on that door. You remember which one I'm talking about? And then also I used my router out to route a door perfectly.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That on there.
That's a fun one. That actually, for me, that was a big deal the first time I did one of those.
Yeah.
And did it correctly, and it looked nice when I was done. And I was like,
you have to go buy another.
There's
door.
another thing another skill in my pocket that I can do now.
Yeah. But I was like, because I tried to do the screen in the doors before, and I didn't know about that little tool, which was an impressive little tool, very simple.
Little screen spline tool.
Yeah, I just put them in there. But how you do it and how getting a nice, I wanted it to be the nicest screen I've ever seen. Yeah. You know, and I did it quick, and I did it efficiently, and I put that in there, and even though it's just a screen on a rental, you know, I did it. I did a great job on it. Even though it was a door on a rental, I did it. And it looked great. And it was just another little thing. Though I still kind of the small little things I see guys whip through, like your bathroom stuff, the drains and all those little things. Those are not easy to do. Yeah. They're not easy tasks for a guy that wants, I'll back it up. When I started to find out how much I could make, and the money I could make, and of being there, because I really didn't have a job before. Start out, you do your service work, then then you're supposed to get a job, go somewhere, and learn something new. And then when I figured out that and I was kind of making it up as I went along, but it took me a few years to kind of get it together. And I was young, I was really young, I'm 54 now, so by the time I was 35, I had a pretty good handle on it, making the money and whatnot. But it was still a struggle, and that's why I once the YouTube came out on how to do things and how to kind of get your business really to go instead of just keeping it afloat. Yeah, and that's kind of where you came in. And I'm like, ever since meeting you, I became a pretty savvy businessman on some of my stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest part of it.
Yeah.
I think you'd probably agree. It's maybe not anybody can do it. I mean, there's some people that I guess are dumb enough that they can't be taught, but most people can learn most trades. I think that's the easy part, is learning the trade. The hard part is learning how to create a business around that stays afloat and remains profitable over time.
Yeah, that's kind of where it was for me to venture out and do something different, and be my multi-trade, from doing floor installations, an excellent carpenter, trim, doors, all that stuff. They always said, if you can hang a door, you got a job. I'm like, I'm a multi-trade guy. Of course I could do that. And I systematically knew my square footage billing on the stuff that I was familiar with, but it was stepping into the hourly billing and things like what you've kind of taught me and turned me to, that I did not know. I wasn't comfortable, wasn't confident in it, so you're just not going to do that good at it. Yeah. And when I saw you that you did not just one thing, but you did everything, and then we've had countless conversations about different trades and the tricks of the trades and things like that, which a lot of these guys, I've watched a lot of people say, hey, I don't want to work my desk job anymore. I'm just going to become a handyman because that's easy. And they all fail. Yeah. All of them. All of them that I've ever met. I've met a lot of them. I do a lot of work for law enforcement, and I see a lot of these cops, when they retire, they try to become a handyman. All of them. I'll help them out.
I think they want it to be easy, or at least they want the hard learning curve to just encompass some period of time and then end.
Yes.
They expect that there's some point where you just know the things, and now all you've got to do is just sort of mindlessly perform it. And being a handyman to me is more about being a problem solver It's not about like replacing the bathroom pop-up stopper. You know, the first one's hard, second one's less hard, third one's medium. You know, eventually it's nothing.
Yeah.
But you just never stop learning, though, because eventually you're going to pop on that one new pop-up stopper that's a different style that you've never seen, or somehow they manually adjusted everything and got it to fit in the wrong size type of drain plumbing, and you've got to redo all the drain plumbing, or just all the things I can't think of. There's always problems to solve. It's never going to be you just show up and do mindless work.
Yes. Hey, I got to admire just to your credit about how much you use AI for everything. It just blows my mind. And that's probably the part that with these handymen that are coming out today, I know most of you people out there too, we never like to teach some of the tricks of the trade because we didn't want somebody to go out there and use our stuff. Gatekeeping. Yeah, and now it's like you said, it's you got to stay one step ahead of the game with this AI, because what's the trick of the trade of doing this certain thing? I've seen it done, and they will detail it out for you. AI will detail it out.
Yeah, it will, and it'll be correct almost all the time. It still gets a few things wrong, but man, it will be really, truly correct about almost everything.
I used to use YouTube, and you guys tried to get me on the Chat GPT thing a long time ago, and I've been on it now for a while. But you and my son in particular. But now I use that on everything. Yeah. You know, I'm not scared of it because it's not. I'm not in any way. I'm not in its way. Yeah. You know, and it's not in my way. You know, I thought of the library being a wonderful thing. I thought YouTube was wonderful to learn how to cook something in 15 different ways. Yeah. You know, from 15 different people. And now they don't have the best drywallers on there. You know, I see some of these guys. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, and some of them don't do the best stuff, and they don't really know their work, and they're just trying to get their. And I see that. You know, it's quite visible. But then the intricacies of it, the AI knows it. Yeah. I mean, it knows it better than we do.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I see a lot with drywallers. And I've seen this a lot. I watch them. They're going through a whole process, like they've busted some holes in a wall on purpose to make the video or whatever. And I'm watching them go along, and I see what they cut out. I see where they were right here, they were doing this, then they were doing this, and my brain's going, well, that's not going to work out nice for you right there. And then all of a sudden, next scene, I can see that they saw what I saw. They stopped the camera, they fixed it, and then they picked back up and moved on as if everything had always been fine, where I'm like, I saw what you did there.
Yeah, I've seen that.
A lot of times they'll leave their mistakes out because they don't want you to see that they made a mistake. But that means if you don't see the mistake they made and how they fixed it, you're not going to be prepared. You're not going to know how to not make that mistake, and you're not going to know how to fix it.
You know what I watch? I watch how, like, when they're doing a paint work or doing a new rig or they're showing something, I watch how people mask, because I use my 501 to square off my tape on windows, on how they bag windows, how they're, I watch how people I think that's one thing that you made a comment to me on how clean I worked, and put my plastic down and my papers, and all my stuff is just laid in it, and I bring a bench so it's easy to get to work. I'm not bending over, and one thing that I'm a master at is using 5-minute mud. And I've watched a lot of people make a lot of boat anchors. And once you can do that, like you've seen me patch small patches, I get to work.
Well, you used, what was it, 20? You remember that big patch you did for me that was like, I mean, the hole itself wasn't the shape of a front door, but the overall area that you needed to skim and texture and everything for me. I think you used 20-minute mud on that.
I use 5-minute mixed with regular mud.
Okay.
So I'll make it however I'll feel it, because during the day, like around here in Arizona, around 10 a.m. in the summer and the winter, that mud starts setting up quicker. But right before that, you can mix a little bit of regular mud in there with it, just so you wet your mud first, and then you put your other mud in there. So you got already wet first, and you watch how I do the little Mexican quick mix.
I've been impressed by you more times than every time I've watched you do your work in person. It blows my mind, and that's why I hire guys like you, is because what you do, it's not that I can't learn it, but I don't have enough opportunity to put in enough time within a short period of time. I'm not going to ever be doing it once a week, every week for 52 weeks to get that skill. So I can do the work, I can do a quality job, but it's going to take me 3 days to do what you do in 2 hours. You know, you can just skim out a wall and texture it and be done. Whereas for me, that's like, I need to set up a tent, I need to order some food, you know, be ready to camp out. And I'll spend 3 days. That first wall you did for me, I guarantee you that would have been a 3-day job for me.
For most people.
And it would not have looked good. I would not have pulled off the quality you pulled off either. But even on the smaller, easier stuff you've done for me, though, even on those things, maybe what you did in 2 hours would have taken me a day and a half, and I could have done it at your quality, but it would have been a day and a half versus your 2 hours.
Well, trust me, like I think we were talking about this once before too. It's when I first started learning drywall, my girlfriend at the time was just mad as hell at me because I just come in there, just chunks of drywall all over me.
In her washing machine, probably.
Oh, no, she would just throw away my clothes. She goes, "You're making money now. You're gonna buy new." And I couldn't believe on how much drywall I get. Now I get a little bit on my shirt here and there, and but I'm a pretty clean finisher, and that was the one thing too is the finishing. It with all of it, keeping it clean, mopping it up, having the right tool for the job. We also talked about that a long time ago. It's like I got everything. I walk into your handyman center there,
the new headquarters.
Your new headquarters, and everything's marked in a box, and that's how he is. I mean, what you see on the videos is what you're getting in real life. And the interesting thing is I've been picking his brain before he told me he was this guy, for at least a couple of years, prior to, this. And I'm proud of your success, and I'm proud to know you.
Thanks, me too, man.
Yeah, we've turned out to be pretty good friends. Yeah, I can tell you're up there.
And I'm gonna piggyback off something you said, because I was actually gonna ask you earlier, because you were mentioning how clean you are. You're clean, you're methodical, you're systematized, you bag and tag everything just right. And I do something similar, as you were just mentioning. But for me, that never came natural. The reason I'm organized today is because I'm naturally not so organized. And it was forced upon me because I needed and wanted to make more money and be more efficient. And not being organized was hurting me. So for me, it didn't come natural. And I had to force it. And then once I got the benefits of it, then it became a little more natural because now I know the benefits going in. For you, did it come, are you just naturally somebody who's going to bag everything just right and have a process? Is that just who Heath is?
That is
or did that come about the hard way for you also?
No, I won't say it came about the hard way, but that's a fantastic question in this whole thing that we do. How that happened was, okay, you get a masker. A lot of people can't use a masker all that good. I kind of learn, and I start to fold because I watched a couple guys do it, and I'm making money already. Then all of a sudden, I'm up in Phoenix, and I get my business going, and I'm like, I'm making some change, and I'm able to get, move on, get my own house, and my girlfriend was doing the books for me and setting up the appointments, and they're still talking painting at this time, so I'm able to hire a couple of guys, right, put them on the payroll. And that's when I started to learn, that's how they do that. And so I started working with them. I mean, we mask a house. I mean, I'm 54 years old. I'll still get down there and wrap up a floor perfectly. Nice and crisp. And I know, sir, what tapes to use for this and that. I watch these guys. And then I had to teach them. I had a kid named Juan Carlos getting his citizenship. I actually had him stay at my house. And he just could not work a masker. And I just used to get so just irritated with him. So I just kept going through paper and tape all over him like a monkey. And then I'm like, hey, man, you got to learn how to work this. And I can't use you anymore, Carlos. And I felt real bad about having to do that. And then I think it was later that day, it just clicked. And that kid worked for me for like 10 years and started his own company. And probably one of the best damn painters I've ever met in my entire life. Nice. But it was one of the things that, like the drywall, I watched people, I had drywallers that come and work. Now, if I go onto a job and there's drywallers, they don't like me there, because they're, we're trying to learn from me. But they all know who I am now. Yeah. Now they were working for me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start taking on more of the drywall stuff just so I can learn it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm going to school here.
And man, that's an important lesson too, is there's been a theme through everything you've told me, which is you just felt the need to learn shit.
Had to.
Like it was just part of who you were. A lot of people just want a paycheck.
I would dream it.
And there's nothing wrong with just wanting a paycheck. If you're happy just getting a job and going to that job, I have respect for somebody who went to the same factory every day for 40 years and never missed a day. Like, that's respectable. But it's not me and it's not you. And I think a big part of it is that drive of like, I gotta know more, I gotta know more, I gotta do more, I gotta be more. Even maybe not wanting to be necessarily the best. I don't have to be the best, but anything I do, I need to get to like the 80th percentile though. Like, I need to know that I'm in that top 20-25% in terms of my capabilities, you know. And then I almost get bored and want to move on, but that's sort of the point, is you're always wanting more and more. You can learn how to paint your bedroom at home, like with a paintbrush and a roller. I think you call it painting like a handyman. The first time you met me.
Oh yeah.
Because he told me that first job. So he was doing that wall. That's what I hired him for, was because I knew I didn't have the skills for that wall. And the other problem was the rest of the house was painted, not the rest of the house, but a lot of the rest of the house. The tenants had put this dark blue, like navy blue paint on, and it wasn't their house. And the owners wanted to move back in and owner occupy. So what I was doing while you were doing that was painting, primering and painting, just with my roller and a ladder. He literally came out and said, "Man, you paint like a fucking handyman."
Yeah, I was going to say, can I cuss on you?
Actually,
that's exactly what I said.
Was that how you found out? Did I say I am a handyman? Is that how that conversation went down?
No, you told me you had a Duke and Sons business. You do handyman work, and you were the first. Look, in Tucson. We actually, both of us, are known by a lot of people over there, and it's because of the work that we do. A lot of people know who I am. They actually have a Heath Rowe up in Dove Mountain. I've done all their homes, and, from showers to tiling, to all the remodels and all that.
Yeah, it seems like every time you're on a job here in Tucson, it's on Dove Mountain, which is like the Ritz-Carlton area, right?
Yes, it is. But it's a different kind of thing, because Ray and I we're already past the hurdles when we met, so I'm not saying that I was trying to become I didn't know what any of this was when I met him.
Oh no, you were a master at what you were doing.
I was,
already.
but the handyman thing was so brand new to me. When I jumped into that, I jumped into a boiling pot of hot water, man. And I tried to do it on my own, and I had to really I had to square it back up in the Phoenix area, and it was really confusing until I figured out how to get it to work for myself and multi-trade it, and I've learned a lot from what you're doing. However, with that said, the learning, you said something earlier. It was about.
Well, I was asking you about the obsession with learning new stuff.
Oh, yes.
That's a big contributor to being not just a handyman, but also just being self-employed in the trades, because there is always more to learn.
Well, we both did the service, know.
Yeah.
And with that, one thing, Ray and I are to get after it. If something has to get done, get it done.
Yeah.
There's no complaining. The other thing that was interesting is, like, when I talked to you and we spoke on the phone, and we spoke a lot of times on the phone too, working through things and getting there. I mean, you're kind of helping me and mentor me. But I always thought it was admirable to take care of your people. And you always got the financials out of the way, and you were always matter of fact on it, and you were always more than fair. Like, wow, okay. And to a point, as a humble person at some times in my life, is that I'm not going to question you on that or ask for anything more, and I never have. I always thought that you were more than fair, and I thought I was actually getting more of a service by doing work for you and learning about these new things and how you did stuff. And I've worked with other people in the past where it's like, Okay, man, you owe me this kind of money. They're like, oh, did we talk about it? It's like, I know everything you've always texted me. I mean, everything, all the emails
Try
that
to
you
keep
sent
stuff in
on
writing.
Jobber.
And I try to make sure that, you know, like, well, you know this about me. I keep my word when it comes to, if I say I'm going to do a job for a certain amount, I do it for that amount.
Yes.
I don't come back after the fact and raise the price.
Yeah.
And I expect that of the people that I do business with as well,
Yes.
like you. But I also want that number. I'm pretty sure I told you many times in the earlier days when I was asking you for estimates.
Right. You might want to come
I've
up
always
with
said, like,
yeah,
I've said, is this a number you're happy to do this for? Like, even if something goes wrong and it takes a few hours and you've got to eat that, is this the number that you're like truly happy with? Because I want to be paying enough for the work that you're doing for me that you're happy to work for me. Not that you're willing to.
Yeah.
I want you to enjoy working with me.
Yeah.
Because if it can be a number that I can be happy with and you can be happy with, the property manager can be happy with, and the homeowner can be happy with, and all four of our interests are not aligned, and if we can find that number that works for everybody, that's perfect.
You can answer that question with this question being asked to you. On the stuff that I know very well, has there ever been a complaint?
Oh, God, no.
Not one.
No. No, your work, in fact, not only has there never been a complaint, a few of my jobs, as far as like texture and paint, like drywall patching, a few of those I have had some compliments on, the ones that I did. But I'm going to say, maybe not all of yours, but when I get a compliment on work you did, it's just par for the course.
Yeah.
I'm always going to get a compliment on work that you did. And the compliment is, for a minute there, I couldn't figure out where it was. You remember that ceiling you did? It was about a 3x3 foot hole in the ceiling.
I've done a lot of them.
I think you had, well, the one in particular you did for me was a 3x3 foot hole in the ceiling, and you had to tear out a little bit more. I think it was about 4x4 by the time you were done with it. And it was in a kitchen, and they couldn't figure out where you had done the patch. Like they wanted to look at your patch and they couldn't find the patch because everything just You also did corner to corner paint, which I never do, but I appreciated that you did because, you know, it makes it impossible to find. If you can't find the patch, there's no bigger compliment.
Yeah.
Because I can find, you can find almost any patch.
What is the number one thing that I told you that's for a drywall patch to where you'll never ever see it? I'll share this with you all too. PVA primer.
You've said the words PVA primer more times
and I sell
than all other people who have
Looks
ever
like
said
paint,
those words.
Applies like paint, but it's not paint. It's a liquid nylon, and what that does is what a paint does. Well, I use flat. People say they use flat paint for it soaks in and creates characteristics, which we call in the trades flashing. You know, so because there's a patch, there's a bunch of brand new drywall there, and there's a lot of it in most cases. So you put the liquid nylon on it, and it flattens it. So the paint can't penetrate and create a characteristic. It just flattens along with the rest of the paint.
There you go.
So that is the biggest tip and selling point. There's a majority of the plumbing companies in Tucson use me for repipes because I have that's another reason why I got really good at drywall texture matching is because I've done probably about 1,000 repipes. You know, sometimes there's 1 to 200 holes, sometimes there's 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 holes. And if you can patch a hole on a ceiling, then you can patch a hole anywhere.
Have you seen, he's newer on YouTube, so if you haven't been on recently doing any drywall research, you may not have, but there's a new guy called the Drywall Tech.
I did see
the
that.
Drywall Tech. He's got a neat little logo. It's like a red and white logo.
I did see that.
I found him because he came in one of my live streams one night. And that night he said, by the way, y'all can help me out. Go to his page and tell him he needs to get in touch with me so I can interview him. Because when he came in the live stream, I went and looked at his page and was like, oh, cool, yeah, I've seen your work, you know, let's interview. But now he's bigger. You know, he's not bigger than me yet. I'm sure he will be because he does a great channel. But I'm trying to interview him. But anyways, if you haven't seen him, sounds like you have. But,
I did. I
highly recommend him to everybody because he's doing kind of what I'm doing with the handyman business. He's doing it with the drywall. He's got systems. He's got processes. He's going to do it kind of the same way most times. He's not trying to be a craftsman. Not that he wouldn't be if somebody wanted to pay him to, but he's not doing the thing where he's coming and saying, I'm going to spend 3 days at your house, you know, and you're never going to know I was here. He's given that value exchange of coming in and saying, oh yeah, you've got, and I thought of it because you're talking about a repipe, and one of his most recent videos was a repipe. There's like 30 holes in the house, and he's just, you know, counted them all up and came up with a price, and then he goes and patches all of those holes up. But he's pretty good. I like him.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. You know, I wish I had the knowledge and time, like I told Ray knows this. I was a photographer at some point in my life, but not a streamer or did any of this kind of stuff. So I'm not saying that I want to be any good at it. It's just something that I don't have any interest in doing. And like I said, I'm like, when you did that, I told Ray this too. It's not to toot his horn anymore, but I'm like, when you see, like, you meet one of your heroes, or you see somebody that you know on TV or something like that, or on a video, and he has a channel and it's successful, I was so proud to know him, but I was a little pissed off that he didn't tell me for like 2 years.
It was at least a year, probably.
Yeah, at least a year, something like that. I've been watching him for a while now.
To be fair, I don't tell very many people, though.
Well, that's what you told me.
Very few people in my like my family knows, but
and
people who know me that aren't family or friends already, I don't go telling people about the channel.
And he does really, really well. You know, and I listened to these interviews of you guys on there too, and I'm like, that's what, when he called me or sent me a message that said, hey, would you do an interview with me? You know, I'd like to interview you. I was honored. You know, I thought it was great. You know, I needed some help. I needed Ray, because I said, hey, I'm moving. I just got married and I'm moving up to Phoenix, and I've got to try this thing. And he's like, all right. So I started going through his videos. I started calling him up, asking him questions. And not one time was it discouraging, like, it's going to be a little hard at first. It's like he knew that I knew what to do. I just needed some guidance.
Yeah, you just needed some details.
Yeah, and just start putting one foot in front of the other. You know, you know, I got things to pay for, you know, and they ain't going to pay for themselves.
Yeah. I've got a question about, you mentioned earlier Warner Home Services, you know, and that failed. Can you remember why that failed? Or even for that matter, if you want to piggyback off of that, why that failed, why any business that you've ever started failed, and or just why businesses in the trades tend to fail to begin with.
Okay.
But if it can be a personal example from yours, that would be even better.
Okay, I was gonna say it was kind of a failure from the start, because I was just like anybody else, but with more gumption, that I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I really didn't, man. I mean, I'm surprised people let me in their homes, building some things, trying to paint some stuff. But I wouldn't say it progressed. So it went, it tanked, and, you know, and I really didn't know how to sell myself. I really didn't know how to charge for anything. And, you know, this is in the 90s, you know, I was young, and I could probably blame a little of that on there too. But it was when I first grabbed hold of that hippie friend of mine that was a painter, and then I painted, then I knew another guy that I ran into at a bar or something, said he was a painter, and if I was looking for any work, I'm like, yeah. And then I watched him paint, and then I met another painter who goes, hey, can you come help me on this project? And I had the business mind. I had the boss man attitude, you know, as a young kid still. And I'm like, I want to do that. So I just basically went to school and getting paid for working with these people and putting these people in there until I can go and sign the papers and get my own company. Once I started doing that, we took it seriously. And it was, MapQuest just came out, and we'd have our teams, guys, I had like 4 vans, and we'd send them all out there, and they'd have their MapQuest in their little folder, and you know, they got their paychecks every Friday, and one thing that we did, we always paid a man. We never say, hey, we're going to dock your pay. Nobody got docked. Nobody ever got docked. And I think I even told you this, you know, I learned how to sell. At that point, I learned how to sell, because I had to learn my products. I had to learn how to do things. I had to learn how to articulate what I was going to do.
Articulate, yep.
And you know me. You know, when I say how I'm going to do something, I explain it to you.
When you tell me what you're going to do, when this guy tells me what he's going to do, I remember one was baseboard you were doing in that brick house. And I don't remember specifically all the things you said you were going to do, but I remember listening to you just tell me step by step, and you were telling me the names of the products and how you were going to apply them and how long they were going to have to set, and why doing it that way, like what great effect that was going to give us compared to if you didn't do it that way. And we sold it. You didn't go on and on about it. It only took you maybe 7 or 8 minutes, but you gave me the whole process, and by the time you were done, I was like, I don't even know what the fuck you just said, but it sounds really great, man. Let's do it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, and I think I had that house trimmed out in like an hour and 15 minutes. I think I timed myself on that. We're talking about in closets, underneath, the whole thing. But with that said too, is I had to learn how to sell things, and I learned things that people say, like and that's why when I explain something, I try to be as quick and efficient as, instead of going on and on about it. But one lady goes, say, you don't have to oversell anything.
Yeah.
And then she says, why step over dollars to pick up pennies? That stayed with me. The other one that stayed with me was, what's worse than a used car salesman? Being one. And then the other one was, I wrote this down, the sweetness of low price is often curdled by the acid of poor quality.
Yeah, that's that. I've heard you say that many times.
Yeah, and I think another reason why we became friends is because we were always fair.
Yeah.
We never crossed that line.
We were always, neither of us have ever tried to like get the better end of the deal.
Never.
We've always looked for that price that just makes everybody happy, and then just do quality work. And then, like you said, I try to always pay just immediate. It doesn't matter if I've been paid yet. I don't ask you to, or if there was a few where you had to wait for me to get paid, but I told you going in, by the way, I don't have the money to pay you for this. When you're done, I'll have to get paid and then pay you, and here's, you know, what my expectations are for when I'll get paid.
Now,
but most of the time I'll pay you as soon as you're done.
Well, so that's how that worked to people, because he explained that to me. I'm like, oh, well, all right. He goes, well, I'll just take care of you this time. And I'm like, okay. And he never had to wait. Not once.
Yeah.
I think in like 2-3 years, it's anytime something came through, you always did it.
Yeah.
It was always done right then and there. And I respect you for that. You know, one of the biggest failures that handyman are having, and most people that are starting up their business in the trades are having, especially in our town, and I think we had this talk, you know what the most important tool is? Your phone.
Yeah, it's true.
Answering it.
Yeah.
Calling people back, doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, do that.
Yeah.
And you know, if you in this town, all you got to do is call somebody back.
Yeah.
You know, that's all you got to do.
This is funny, this is not a plug, I swear to God. Have I introduced you to Jobber's AI receptionist?
You did. Now that was so interesting. Oh, that's a funny story here too, because I was his first victim on his first trial.
Oh, did you test it for me?
Yeah.
Okay, right on. It was probably brand new at that time.
It was brand new at the time. I'm a half a day trying to get this lady to, you know, to just come on, man.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
she was still beta.
Yeah, I really but I don't know if you guys have the Jobber down there, but I highly, highly, highly recommend getting Jobber. That made us, you know, and it kind of made it easy to use too. So I'm not a computer guy. My wife is, and she's a project manager. For the big contracting groups such as Google, Facebook, Amazon, you know, and so she knows how to use all that stuff, and but for me, I'm small potatoes, you know, and that Jobber, one opening it up, has all the details in there. I mean, it's really easy. I mean, I was surprised that there was something like that out there. I thought I'd just have to keep working on writing things down on a calendar.
But yeah, you're right. Just answering the phone. You know, that's probably one of the biggest complaints that I always heard when I was working for homeowners and was going through lots of clients, because it's always the next homeowner. Yeah. One of the biggest complaints was always that when they reached me, they had tried previously to reach 4 or 5 other guys and just got, you know, no answering of the phone, no returning of text messages, no returning voicemails, just nothing at all.
Yeah. And there's another couple things too on the handyman. I mean, I know some in our town's a little bit more liberal than a lot of other towns are, but the ones like Ray, when he goes to work, he looks like he's going to work.
I go to work dressed like this with a button-down shirt.
Yeah, and he's got all his tools, he's got everything that he needs, and laid out. And I do too. If I'm painting a house, I'm dressed in painter whites, you know, and you know, right?
Yep.
You know, work boots, and you know, and I just think it's, you know, dress for success. You know, I mean, get yourself some good work boots, and you know, look the part, people.
You talked about 5-minute mud earlier, and I feel like, I can't remember this for sure, but you either I started using 5-minute mud because you told me to, or at the very least I started using it because you did and you were one of the other people.
Yeah.
I noticed some people were using it. I knew it existed from the first day of my business, and I never used it because I always imagined like, well, when I have time to learn a new skill, then I'll do that. And I put it off for like 2 or 3 years.
I told you this because you said, well, I got to go back and coat another. I was watching how these drywallers go, and they'll just kind of coat around. And I use the glue too. I'll use the 3M spray glue, and that way my microfiber mesh tape. I don't get I do the regular stuff too. Microfiber is easier for the repairs, and I watch people go over each of their lines. And I'm like, that's when you need to use your 5-minute mud. And watch this. And I think I showed you, and I'm like, I go over the whole thing, and then I bring it down, and that's my first coat. I got a second coat, and I'm ready to go ahead and texture. And though I do know how to move my blades and work them really good and bring my, so where my second coat, it's ready for texture.
Yeah. And so it was, I believe it was you. We're probably at least the final push that I got to finally go just teach myself how to use 5-minute mud. But it's great advice because, and the problem is once you do it, for me anyways, once I finally used it, I remember the first job. I sucked at it on the first job. By the time I got any mud on the wall, it was already setting.
Boat anchor.
Because I wasn't fast. But then I stepped back and I went, I got to be faster. Okay, how can I be faster? Came up with a couple ways to be faster. And then did that. And now, the idea that I would ever use regular joint compound or even 45-minute
well, you need joint compound for your texture. Even if you're doing
for the texture, but not for the patch. And the idea that I would ever do a patch with regular joint compound, where I now have to come back tomorrow, that's a thing of the past. That was the dumbest thing I ever did, and I did it for years. Because I didn't listen to guys like you who said, you need to learn 5-minute mud, or you need to learn hot mud in general. Start with 45-minute or whatever, but you need to learn hot mud. You guys need to learn hot mud because I didn't for years, and I just wasted all of that time.
Quickest thing is at Home Depot, they got the little scoops. They're the little red handle, little scoop. Get yourself one of those. I take my 5-minute, I can get 2 bags of 5-minute mud, and I like the Westpac, but USG is just fine. And I dump them into an empty, dried out 5-gallon bucket with the lid. And I put the scoop on there. So when I'm ready to go, it goes with me. And when I'm doing multiple patches, I lay out my platform bench.
Is this your 3-bucket method?
Yeah.
Tell me your 3-bucket method.
My 3-bucket.
I know you have it, but I've never seen it.
Say we got.
Can you lay it out?
We got 10 holes we need to patch, right? And we want to get them done quickly. So your backer's going to go with your 1x. So your 2 pieces of backer that's going to go through, square everything out. You can even get a template if they're going in there. They save the little round things that you put them in there. So the 5-minute mud setup is platform bench. You've got your 5-minute mud right here with a scoop in it. You have your bucket of water filled up 3/4 of the way with a big yellow sponge in it, and then you have your other mud that you have, your regular box mud. I put a whole bag of box mud in there and a little bit of water up on top. Just leave it like that. And so my first patch is going to be take about a half a scoop of the 5-minute, put it in there, mix it with the water, get it kind of soupy, then take the other mud, mix that with it. By the time I come around to the second, it's already set up, ready for my next one. The first one I can go I say for people that are trying the 5-minute, they want to use it for the first time, get the scooper. It's imperative to get that scooper, in the 5-gallon bucket, so you're not working out of a bag because it's messy. That goes in there and only mix with 1 scoop at a time until you're able to add to it. And then once you can kind of progress onto adding the other mud in with it, then you can go further and it's going to set up. So and that way you don't have to go by 20-minute, you don't have to buy 45-minute. You can just kind of work it in detail by using the other mud. And that way that's there in case I have to use a hock and trowel for a texture, or I got a skip trowel for a texture, or I need to mix it at the very end and create something to shoot through a hopper.
Right on. Have you ever seen how I do 5-minute mud?
I think I turned my head.
Is that a joke, or have you seen how I store and manage my 5-minute mud?
No,
my
I'm
process.
I'm kidding.
Are you ready to be embarrassed to know me?
Oh no, I'm not embarrassed at all.
I buy a bag of the bag of the USG, because that's what's at Home Depot. I buy one of those and I split it up into like 20 Ziploc bags, 1 cup each. And I keep in my kit, I'll show you my kit when we get back to the headquarters, because we got to go back there anyways. I keep in my kit, I have bottled water, and I have those bags, and I have the backer, and I have everything in the kit. And I mix it in the Ziploc bag. So I pour the water in, what I know to be too little. I don't want to go over, so I pour in what I know to be too little water, but just a little bit too little. Mix it up real good until it's, clumpy. Pour a little bit more water in, and then zip that shut, and I can just all over the place, so there's no clumps. And then I just, whether I bite off the end or whether I cut off the end with a 5-in-1 or whatever, I just break open a corner and I get it on my trowel, and then I go, or my knife, and then I go to the wall and I do what I need to do with it. And then I take the knife and I wipe it off on the edge of that bag, and then the bag goes in the trash, and I have no mess, and I don't have any buckets, and I don't have anything. And it's not the way you would ever do it.
Well, you see how fast I do that.
You're fast.
And then I get around, I spin the whole thing. It's a quite
You
the
can
art
mix
form.
up like a quart of hot mud correctly and use it fast enough.
I could use 4 scoops.
I can't.
I get the big pan.
Yeah.
I have every
I've watched you.
Yeah,
that big door-sized one you did for me. You had one of those, I don't know, 16 or 20-inch pan, and you filled it, and it was hot mud.
Yeah.
And you managed to get it all used up.
All of it.
I can't do that. I'm slow.
Yeah.
So for me, it makes the most sense to only do a cup at a time. So I just get what I can get out of that cup.
The other key thing about that 3-bucket setup is on the floor there is the box that I took the mud out with, and you turn them in. That's my trash to the very end.
There you go.
And then I'm moving. I mean, you're blown away on how fast I did that area.
Oh yeah, man, you were
just like gone,
fast.
just rocking and rolling.
I paid you pretty decently for it too, and I think a lot of people would have been like, "Oh, he was only there for 45 minutes. How'd you pay him that much?" And he did a day's worth of work in 45 minutes, and I paid him less than a day's wages. So he made more than He made more than 45 minutes worth of money because he's got the skills and he earned that, and I got a day's work for way less than a day's pay.
Yeah,
it works out.
Well,
for
and then
everybody.
I think, and then we've done a lot of projects after that too. But I think it was a good meeting, and I really encourage every single one of you that if you're going to go into business with somebody or bringing an employee in, there is they're watching you and you're watching them. And we knew that about each other. Like, he's watching me, and I'm watching him. That's why I said, you're fucking painting like a handyman.
Now, to be fair, in my defense,
and you were actually really good. You came out really good.
Although I can have 3 buckets, right? I could afford that. As a handyman, though, the painter drywall guy would tell me I need the 3 buckets, I need the stand, I need all these other things. And then the electrician's going to tell me all the ways that I should be the right electrician. The plumber will have all the things I need to be doing to be the right kind of plumber, the roofer, everybody else. Well, then I need a 24-foot trailer to haul everything in all day, every day. So a lot of my systems and my methods are designed to be fast in and out driving around town.
Yeah, and I handle a lot of the stuff that I do these days are bigger stuff. So when I'm loading up to go, as we know, I've got big diesel truck, I've got a smaller one, trailers, what the things that I need to do that, and you as well. But it's like I load up for the week or the two, and I mean I'm saw stands and I'm just tile or even having to do, when you're doing repipes, a lot of the time you're having to do cement. So I do showers and shower pans and all that. So bottom line, painting, save your buckets, people, keep them clean. If you're painting other than flat paint and you got paint at the end of the bucket, just paint the whole bucket and then peel it off the next day. Out here in Arizona, we can throw it in the sun for an hour. And it's peeled.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Don't even have to be in the sun most. You can be inside an air-conditioned house.
You can.
And the air is just so dry because it's dry outside, and then the AC dries it further.
Yeah.
All you got to do is just not touch anything with wet paint for like 5 minutes, and it's already trying to set up.
It's stand by. So you guys know, this is an absolutely beautiful place that we're at. I don't know if you've ever heard of Sonoyta, Arizona, but this is like God's country out here. And Ray will bring you out and take you miles out in the middle of nowhere to do one of these. I encourage all of you to come out here and do something like that, because I want to see you. I want to hear your stories. I love them. I love this. I think it's a wonderful thing.
We're celebrating all the normal people instead of the celebrities, you know.
Yeah.
We don't need the celebrity handymen and the celebrity plumbers. We want to know, I want to know, like, how everybody who's actually building a business with their hands right now, today, successfully is doing it.
Yeah.
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 Another question. Did you have any more to say? Because I'm going to change the topic a little bit.
No, shoot.
I'm curious about leads, and I know for you this is a very different type of thing because you have a history and you have a clientele and you have a reputation. But because I know you've built from scratch a few times, if you were to have to leave Arizona, let's say, and go to like Chicago, how would you go about getting, for these new guys, you know, who are like, I don't have a reputation, maybe don't even know what I'm doing, so I can't even really sell my work based on people just being able to tell I'm experienced, because I'm not, right? How do you go about today? How would somebody go about finding leads without paying for them?
Don't rest on your laurels. That's the first thing. But that's a great question, and I'm doing it right now as we speak up in the Phoenix area. And because one thing about Tucson, you know your neighbors. It's word of mouth out here. You do a good job, you always have. You do a good job, you always have work. If you don't, you won't. There's a lot of people out of work out here. But in Phoenix, it's impersonal. Nobody, you don't even know I don't even know my neighbors, you know. And people, they flood your house with flyers. I come home in Tucson, you come home, there's no flyers on your door. You know, I mean, I come home to,
literally never happens to me here.
I come home to flyers all over my door. So, I mean, literally, I have no competition in Tucson. I have a lot of competition up in Phoenix. So how do I do that? Matter of fact, I'll have to show you. I got it right there in my truck. I will go work in an area. So we just got done with this up in Dove. Why I work in Dove Mountain a lot is, and I'll show this to you because I personalize it. The heights at Dove Mountain, say that's where I'm at.
And to reiterate, this is literally the Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
Like when you're driving into the neighborhood, big stone sign that says Dove Mountain, Ritz-Carlton. I don't remember exactly what it says, but it literally says Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
This is a nice place. This is a very fancy area.
Yeah, and a lot of older people. There's a good mix of everybody, but there's a lot of money to be made up there. So what I did was the Highlands at Dove Mountains, where I'm at, and at this particular one. And so I made a flyer. I had my wife make me a flyer. It says, interior, exterior paint special, fall special, booking in the Highlands at Dove Mountain through September. So make it personal on there. Tell them they're going to save money, and also tell them
you put a deadline on it.
And I put a deadline on it because it's
interesting.
So they could see that. Okay, we got to. First thing they're going, hey, we need to get our house painted. You know, and I put every house, even that. If I knew that house, I had painters there, you know, last week, but it also says and more. So it's you know, Desert Canyon painting and drywall and more. So people don't quite know that I do the multi-trade until they meet me, and that's where my sales skills come in handy. So with that said, I always believed in boots to the ground. You know, I always believed in when I first started doing that, I'd say about 2004 is when I first used Craigslist, somewhere around there. And my friend was using it. All of a sudden, my friend got a truck like mine. I'm like, how did you get that? You know, and he goes, oh, I had to advertise on Craigslist. I'm like, what's that? And every morning I'd get up and I'd advertise on Craigslist. I made my first 100,000. I went from making like 40,000 a year to 110 to 120,000 in a year. Yeah. And that's back in then. You know, I'm like going, wow. I mean, I was really moving up, and then all of a sudden people started to figure it out. But that wasn't years later. So I was making, you know, 6 figures plus, you know, for years off of that. I thought that was the cat's meow, because people would use that all the time. And then, you know, they have other ways of doing it. And I do believe that some of those pay-to-plays, like your Facebook marketplace and creating an ad, and I learned this a long time ago, TOMA, top of mind awareness. Don't clutter your advertisement. You can do some bullet points, but don't clutter it and say all this great stuff.
You know, nobody wants to read 3 pages of who you are. I grew up in San Angelo, Texas, in a blue-collar family, and my family taught me how to do good. They don't want to read your biography.
References
they need
and
work
addresses available upon request. Because they call me up, they say, you worked in the neighborhood? Yeah, I've done this house, that house, that house. Go check out all the houses over there, and then I can give you the numbers of the people, because I had and I think a reference list is good, and a bigger one that you have, the better. Ask your people.
You have to ask before you put them on the reference list.
Yes,
You can't just give out your clients' numbers. So
no, that is
when you're doing the work and you're making them happy and they are happy, in that moment when they're happy, that's when you say, do you mind if I give out your name and number to other potential clients as a reference if necessary?
Yeah, I've gotten really good. I could be a little boastful sometimes, well, I knocked it off because I used to say, hey, do you have any references? And I'd give them a sheet front and back of people. And then these people I've been doing work for, like I said, I've been doing this for 27 years. It's been a long time. The handyman stuff is basically in the last year and a half to 2 years, and that's been the struggle.